Well, you might call it a very decisive day for the National Assembly as a very controversial tax reform bill has scaled toward the second reading by the members of the Senate to the votes in the contentious tax reform bills. Just yesterday, there was a stormy session marked by a very sharp disagreement over the presence of the external tax expert that were in the chamber to give more details about the bill. Now, the legislation which promises just today to change the Nigeria's tax structure has continued to spark intense deliberations and reflecting deep divisions within the National Assembly, precisely the Red Chamber. Now, we've also been informed that the House of Reps are also having some convention, closed-door meeting to know the details of the tax reform bill sent by the president. Is still a whole lot of disagreement between some members of the National Assembly. But let me bring you some of the clip we had on the soundbite from the National Assembly where the bill scaled through the second time on the floor of the Senate. Take a listen.
A bill for an act to provide for the assessment, collection of, and accounting for revenue accruing to the Federation accounts, states and local governments, prescribe the powers and functions of tax authorities, and for related matters, 2024. Second reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal certain acts on taxation and consolidate the legal frameworks relating to taxation and enact the Nigeria Tax Act to provide for taxation of income, transactions, and instruments, and for related matters, 2024. Second reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, the four bills read so far are now referred to the Senate Committees on Finance, Senate Committees on Finance for further legislative actions, including public hearings, collation of all views, opinions, tinker with, delete, add, subtract, and revert to this August Assembly on or before 6 weeks.
That confirmation by the National Assembly is still drawing a lot of stakeholders' concern and engagement in respect to understanding what are the provisions of the bill. And just yesterday, what led to the rowdy nature of those at some moments in the plenary was that the FRAs were there and even the economic team of the president to explain to the members of the National Assembly the details and trying to convince them on why the president is sending that bill to the National Assembly. But it looks that some of the senators did not in any way agree to that move, stating some of their other papers that it wasn't in any way part of the content of that yesterday plenary. But today, it looks that the majority stood with that bill and it has gone through the second reading. It's still sparking a whole lot of concern. Tonight, which we'll be diving into that issues again, that those that feels it looks that the Senate are in a hurry to pass that bill. What is the intent of the president? What is the intent of the bill? Is the timing right for that bill? There are questions. These are the valid questions many Nigerians are asking, and tonight we'll try to have an understanding about that move by the government. But away from that, there has been a very disturbing video coming from the UK as the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, pledging to enforce stricter immigration policies, warning that the current pace of immigration risks overwhelming the public services and undermining the social cohesion. She was speaking at Westminster on Wednesday doing a speech and a question and answer session. She acknowledged the past failures by the successive Tory government to manage the immigration effectively. However, she has vowed to take decisive action to address the issue. Take a listen to what the leader of the Conservative Party said about immigration.
We need to talk about immigration. The truth is that for nearly 30 years, mass migration has been far, far too high under all governments, by all parties. And not just here, too high all across the Western world. And it can't continue. We need a new approach. I'm the new leader of the Conservative Party, and we're going to do things differently. I'm saying no more. The system is broken. We can't go on like this, and we need to change. Let's break it down. 1. If immigration happens too quickly, there is no integration. The ties that bind us start to fray. It doesn't matter whether you are massively for immigration or massively against. Without a shared national identity, our country will suffer. When people come here, they must buy into the values, customs, and institutions that attracted them here in the first place. 2, the political class can't pretend that immigration comes only with benefits and no costs. We can all see the pressure on housing, roads, GPs, and wages. The failure of politics over the last 30 years has been to gloss over it or to make it a fringe issue. That has to stop. 3, we can no longer be naive. It's nonsense that we have allowed a situation where judges deem perfectly safe countries to be unsafe, that loopholes are willfully exploited by those coming here. Our institutions are failing. They've proven they are unable to determine who wants to contribute and who is simply exploiting our openness. Britain is a high-trust society, but we can't let our system be taken advantage of. So we need to do things differently. I want to rebuild the trust between the Conservative Party and the British people. I know we've got a lot of work to do, but the first step is to accept that mistakes were made. And that is what I will do. We got it wrong, and we are going to learn. When done right, limited immigration can work for this country. But it's no surprise that many people don't believe that anymore. The Conservatives are going to develop a detailed plan for immigration to put before you at the next election. Not the policies of Labour, which are going to fail, but a real plan that will, for the first time in 30 years, actually bring immigration right down and be honest with you about the trade-offs. It's time to tell the truth on immigration, and over the coming months, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, that's the leader of Conservative Party speaking so much stuff against immigration, and as the leader of the party, under leadership, they'll be taking a look at correcting the failures of other successive governments. And she has been under a whole lot of reactions. And Nigerians are saying, she looks that she's also an immigrant, and why is she coming and talking so tough the moment where some Nigerians are finding it possible to also get to UK and other countries? Well, I needed to bring that from the international scene. It looks that the UK is not still friendly again. Canada spoke earlier, and now the UK has spoken again, and that's the need for us to pay attention in solving the issues in our country. Tonight, we'll be diving into the issues of the tax reform. I'm being joined by Dr. Okay, he's joining us live here on the program. Thanks so much, Doctor, for joining us on the show. A whole lot of concern, and one of the most outstanding issues is the objective of this tax reform, that those that feels it looks that there's a motive behind this tax reform. From all what you can get at, what can you say about it?
Well, in the first instance, we are in a dire strait in terms of when you talk about economy, and obviously government is scampering for safety to see how much they can get to cushion all the effects of the adversities we are passing through and all of that. So it's not strange that government is coming up with these multiple, these bills here and there on tax reforms and all of that. The idea is just straight to generate money, more revenue for the country. What the government intends to do with it is a different ballgame. What the past governments have done with whatever they generated is a different thing. But one thing is obvious: we don't have a tax regime in Nigeria, at least a clear-cut one.
Are people not paying taxes?
Yeah, he looks selective, though. He looks selective because, except within the framework of an environment where government has control over your money or your salary, as it were, most Nigerians actually don't pay tax. Most Nigerians don't pay tax. Beyond the local taxes of, revenue, tenement rates and the rest of them. In concrete terms, when you talk of tax, most Nigerians don't pay tax. And that's because, like I said, the whole thing about our tax regime looks so ambiguous. It's so cloudy and shrouded in murky waters that you don't even understand exactly what you are supposed to be paying for. And in most cases, you discover that individuals who ought to pay these taxes, there's always one thing or the other that makes it impossible for them to pay. Sometimes not because they don't want to pay, but because even the people who are chasing the money itself are not really serious to get this money. They would rather go the way and get the money for themselves instead of government. Of course, we've had a lot of situations where, I've heard, I don't know how true that is, where some people could be taxed, let's say, 20 million, and somewhere along the line, you wouldn't know the indices or the criteria with which they will bring it down, and it comes down to almost a zero level, and it becomes a norm, for such establishment. It has happened several times.
It really looks like the North are really speaking. And one of the senators, Lynn Dume, have been speaking so loudly, but he made mention that he's not against the bill, but he's having a concentration over the timing that the president is having to conceive this bill. What can you say about the timing? And you understand government on the other hand is saying there's nothing wrong about those taking decision at this moment. We need to we need to make a total reforms over our bills and taxes.
First of all, Ndume should be talking for Nigerians.
Because it looks that the North are really against it.
They should be talking for Nigerians. Much as, they could have better information on prevalence in their area, when you have to do with the North. But I can tell you that most Nigerians are passing through the same harrowing experience that an average Northerner is passing through. Most Nigerians are. So many Nigerians. Over 80% of Nigerians are passing through the same experience. This poverty situation is just unbearable. You understand? And the employment rate is not there. It's so unemployment rate is so high. People are finding it difficult to feed. The market forces have become a jumbled whole that you cannot even think of any organized system and all that. So people are actually suffering. I agree. This is not the best of time for such reforms.
Well, what time can be best enough without reactions?
Well, one thing I must let you know is that there is no better time actually in real times to introduce any reform that will be qualitative in output. There will be no better time. Why I say this is because, one, even when you decide to wait until the economy improves, how many Nigerians will be covered by that improved economy to the extent that they will still not complain? What we should be talking about is government, you want to impose these taxes here and there. Are we going to have a transparent system? Is there going to be accountability in real times? Are Nigerians going to see visible things that will be done with this money that will be generated? It's not about generating money. After all, over the years, this country is too rich. And why I say this is because if you take if you chronicle the quantum of money that has been filtered away by individuals, by groups, and misappropriated here and there, and this country is still breathing, you begin to wonder that we're actually rich in real times. You understand? So the idea is not about getting this money. When we get this money, is government going to be very transparent in the expenditure? What are the things going to be used for? The money will be used for. Is there going to be accountability? will a common man on the street feel the impact of this money that will be generated through these taxes? These are the issues. It's not just about introducing it. Even if you introduce it, and so after all, there was a time in this country a former head of state said the problem was how to spend, what to do with Nigerian money. There was so much money. But he apparently didn't know what to do with it. And we squandered it through all kind of 1977 first act and all that, with a lot of things like that. And that's how the money went. So we can as well generate this money we are chasing now, or we're about chasing now, or government is about chasing now. But at the end of the day, if we don't make quality use of it, it still comes to nothing.
Part of those that really should be considered is a small, businesses in the country. It really looks that when we look at our economy can be productive, there's no how we can make this conversion without considering the small and medium scale. That those that feels that incurring more taxes on them, putting them under pressure to also remit more taxation, can also begin to defeat the purpose of entrepreneurship in the country. Because there are those that argue that you have to first invest in your population before you can now look at issues of getting back. Looking at that direction, VAT and all of that, expecting from this bill, do you feel that it will encourage, small-scale businesses in the country?
Well, I don't know exactly how government intend to manage this, but I've seen funny cases where even barrel pushers in some states are meant to pay tax, pure water sellers are meant to pay tax, and all manner of things. But we have a situation where people who are actually in custody of our money are not paying tax. If government encourages savings in our banks and the rest of them, perhaps so much money that has been stacked in private houses and bedrooms will start coming out. And probably that could cushion some of this. The small-scale industries are as good as gone. They better not have closed up. They can't cope. Some states, you see a small guest house of about 10 rooms paying 5 million or 3 million as tax in a year. These are businesses that hardly generate anything for their survival. We have situations where some schools, private schools, that could hardly manage 200 children are given a tax of 3 million, 5 million, and the rest of them. It's happening in so many states in the country. And of course, many of the schools are closing down. Much as it's not the best to maintain these private schools if the public schools are okay. But the situation is such that while we are looking for this money through taxes, we must be able to take a look at the most affected and vulnerable group among us, because that's where the problem is coming from. An average person who cannot earn 10,000 naira in a month, how much do you want him to pay? There are salary earners in this country, in Abuja here, that so many salary earners are less than 50,000. After taking transport to work and back and front, how much is remaining? And they still have to pay this tax and all that. So I think they should be able to come out clear enough and give time for enough consultation. Let people talk. Let people air their opinion. Let's not be in a hurry. That's my word. I'm not saying government should not go ahead with it. If we can come out with a regime, a tax regime that will embrace everybody, and this money will be used, for the good of the country and for the good of everybody, why not? It's good. But they should not make it look like we're in a hurry to get this done. We can get gradually, get more people enlightened about the content of this, the bills in question, what to expect in the bill if it is passed, and then begin to educate the locals, because many people are not literate enough to even go through the phone to check and find out exactly what is happening there. A lot of persons, so many of us depend on hearsay. Somebody, a community leader, returns home and tell you, do you know that the president is trying to do this? And that's what it takes. The person who is feeding you this information is not even privy to the content, the details of the bills. But he has summarized it and he's bandying about with this news, which of course the common man on the street, the smallest man in the village or woman in the village will just pick up from there and it become an issue. So let the government not make it look like there is ulterior motive to this by hurrying to get this thing passed without, letting people know and appreciate exactly the content of these bills.
I mean, one may begin to also imagine anytime Nigerians hear of reforms, they are quick to feel it's not for their good. I mean, sometimes it looks that even if it's good reforms, or even if a bad reforms, they are all seeing it towards one direction. Because it looks that this government came with a whole lot of reformations. You've seen the economic policies, you've seen, the angles of approaches to many of these problems of this country. But Nigerians are not seeing it towards that direction. And now that we are having the tax reforms, they are also insisting that it's not for their own interests. How do we begin to also explain this? Because yes, you've stated clearly there's a need for proper engagement, but the people are not in any way seeing it towards that direction. Anything reforms, they feel is not for good. That's the voices on the street.
Yes. The truth of the matter is that our government is we have trust deficit, clearly, when it has to do with our governance system.
Do we just blame this government?
Well, it has been...
Because they have also pushed blame to other government.
It has been a recurring decimal over the years. When you begin to get things wrong, it's just like when you want to play football and you begin to put wrong legs. Definitely your ball cannot go where you want it to go. And if it becomes a routine whereby you begin at all times to begin to place your legs wrongly. Even the day you decide that when you become well trained and you now decide that this is the best time to play the game the way it should be, people will still not trust that you place your legs very well. We have trust deficit in our governance system. It is difficult for anybody, for most people, most Nigerians to begin to trust our governments because of past experiences. I should think that government should come clear and clean on some of these suspicions. They should come out clear. Let the people, we should have time to engage our people. Obviously, government has good intention in coming up with these bills, obviously. But you must still carry the people along with you. Let them appreciate exactly why you want it. The idea of, bullying anybody in an attempt to get it passed should not be the thing now. Because an average man on the street is hungry already. And because of the hunger on the street and what is happening in the land, most people are not even patient anymore. The endurance skill is gone. People no longer have the endurance skill to wait and begin to listen to some of the conjectures we're having around.
A lot of development, and those that are saying if it is necessary, there must be a continuous consideration of VAT derivation. The governors forum, the Northern governors, met and also said, we are not in support of this bill. There have been a lot of engagement, and they have not also spoken back, withdrawn that statement. Some of the Northern met, and then they still advise for the scrutiny of that bill, and they're having issues about, VAT derivation, and that those are views. You can't rob Peter to pay Paul. We cannot have a company operating in this region and someone is at the other region and having, to receive this VAT and all of those sharing formula. And that's the reason why some of them are not taking it very lightly. How do we also manage, these demands as well?
Well, it is high time various state governors and the rest of them begin to know that it can't be business as usual. They must wake up from their slumber. The idea of depending on Abuja for whatever, at the end of the month, every commissioner of finance run down to Abuja to pick money for the state. I think the signal we are getting from this bill we are having now is that time is gradually coming to an end. Every state government should wake up. Every state governor should drive this other tax reforms or other IGR mechanism so that they can get money without waiting for Abuja. There is no state in this country that you don't have the resources. States that don't have manufacturing sectors, they have the agricultural sector, they have all of that. Well, we also know that because of the security situation in the country, so many states are not having the best of it in terms of farming and the rest of them. But what I'm saying is that it is high time states begin to look inward on how to generate revenue. Because the whole protestation we're having is just because everybody is depending on Abuja. At the end of the month, everybody comes to Abuja to share, and everybody takes home. So anything that whittled down the quantum of cash that states are getting from Abuja, of course, he ought to be resisted by those who don't have any fallback. That's what I feel.
Because their major issue also is about the equity, the fairness in this sharing.
Well, look at it this way. You see, there's already a distortion in the whole system. When you come to the south, obviously most minerals that come from the south are accounted for. At least that's the impression we are getting, that they are accounted for. Taxes are paid on them. And VAT collected from them and all that. But we also know, or we've heard, that so many states in the country are having minerals that can actually be, tapped and harvested in code for the betterment of the country. But for inexplicable reasons, most of these minerals end up as business between either the state government, where the mineral is domiciled, and the external business community that come to harvest them. That's the story we're hearing. So if that is the case, I think the states that generate much of this revenue, the states that actually are putting in so much to ensure accountability and transparency in the collection of these revenues and the rest of them, and are producing more, should enjoy more. That's what I feel.
All right. When you look at the fact that those are really having a concern about the current economic situation, and it really looks that much of the demands and the expectations of the people is that they want to see the other reforms work, and for them to really have confidence that if we have these tax reforms to arrange or rearrange the old taxation methods in the country, the things must be to the favor or to the betterment and the lives of the people, because government exists to provide amenities and also help create an enabling environment for businesses to strive and for lives of the people to be better. Looking at the two economic decisions of this president or this government, subsidy removal and that of floating the naira, that those that are not in any way still accepting that, it looks that many have been drawn back to the poverty line. Some businesses are having a direct impact of these policies. And now that we're having this new consideration, with all of its good intent, with all of its good intention, do you feel that it may have a full acceptance of the Nigerian people. Yes, it has gone through the second reading from the National Assembly, for looking at the acceptance, for people to also comply and key, into the vision or into this bill. How would you assess that atmosphere?
Well, you can only give what you have. Most Nigerians who are in that strait economically definitely will find it difficult to key in anywhere. No matter how you package it, you find it difficult to key in. As for complaining, it must be there. Till tomorrow, I happen to be one person that feels strongly that we have no business floating our naira. Till tomorrow. We have no business doing that. This is the only country where you come into the country and our national currency has become second-class currency. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, our national currency has become dollar, because we've dollarized our economy. People no longer look at naira as money. Is there an explanation why in Nigeria, somebody from outside Nigeria will come into this country to buy a product in this country and buy it in dollars? Why can't we insist on such fellows changing their money, their dollar to naira, and use naira to buy? Why must the person pay in dollars? And it has become a very embarrassing situation and all that. So, and I'm saying that no country in the world, nowhere, a country will come and say our currency should follow market forces. It doesn't work. And because of the impact of that decision, that is why anytime this government comes up with anything, no matter how nice, no matter how quality it is, there is this idea of they are coming again. The same thing with oil subsidy, fine. Like we appear to be getting it right now because at least we may not be importing or something. But has it really?
The price is still high.
Oh yeah, the price is still high. Because I was thinking that
even now we have Port Harcourt refinery.
Oh yes, I like they have the Port Harcourt refinery is on stream now. Dangote is on stream, but Dangote, that is a private sector arrangement, is cheaper than the government arrangement. It shouldn't be so.
We still buy at 1,000 plus.
Yes, it shouldn't be so. So what are we going to get as people who are producing these products? Nigeria is a great country. When you talk of oil production and all that, we are there. Oil politics were there. I remember the days of Rio and Lukman them and the rest of them, when they were really in charge of this oil thing, globally and the rest of them. And Nigeria was playing quality politics in the oil sector. Now, we have decided to domesticate it so that we can now produce this oil here and then make money locally. But I can tell you, a cabal and people who have profited over the years from the distortions in the oil sector keep on sabotaging this arrangement till tomorrow. They are not used to earning little money. They are used to collecting it big through any kind of means. Otherwise, with Dangote up there, with Port Harcourt refinery producing, there should be
dropping the price.
We should have some reprieve as a people. But unfortunately, it has not. We are not seeing anything.
Is it because of the international price? Because that those are few. This is not a local product.
International price, and like I keep saying, we have already dealt with the issue of floating the naira. There's no country in the world that will not subsidize the energy sector. There's none. Government must subsidize it. The flimsy excuse of when we subsidize it, our neighboring countries will come and start taking them away and smuggling them. Strengthen our institutions so that they will do the work they ought to do by ensuring that these products don't go outside the country, at least minimally. If they can do that, that's it. But to say you are not going to do anything about it, that the market forces should still determine the cost of oil and the rest of them, even domestic consumption, is not going to work out well for us. And like you know, if you travel to some of the local communities, you will see that some of the foodstuffs and the rest of them were buying in Abuja, for instance, they are very cheap out there. But by the time you transport it from there to Abuja here, it becomes something else. Just stop a taxi now and tell a taxi to take you to say no. They will give you the price. So something has to be done about this. And when we start having some reprieve from this action of government, when it has to do with subsidy, when it has to do with the Naira management and the rest of them, then when you come up with a reform, people will say, oh, that's a good one. And people will be ready to key in. There's already suspicion everywhere. Government is having this trust deficit everywhere. It will be difficult for anybody to trust, even if they come up with absolutely nothing tomorrow. It will be difficult for anybody to trust the government.
Because the chairman of the Presidential Committee on the Fiscal Policy said and makes some clarification that the bill aims to lift the tax burden on 90% of the Nigerian workers. According to him, that 30% of Nigerians who earn between 50,000 naira and 70,000 naira monthly will be exempted from paying tax. And that those that said, what are the basis of gathering this data? I mean, because oftentimes we've been having issues with our data. Sometimes government would say we are making conditional cash transfer for the poorest of the poor. And Nigerians will continue to ask, how many poorest of the poor do we have? And now that the chairman of the Fiscal Policy is out again to say those that are earning 50,000, those that are earning 70,000 will be exempted from, these taxes. It looks that it may be in a good direction, but how? Because one of the problems Nigerians have also been having is that sometimes the fantastic ideas, but the question, how would you solve these? Are you also bothered about that?
There's nothing fantastic about that talk. It's just one of those most crazy. Keep on saying it. Let me tell you.
So you feel that people, the 30% and the price of the poor will not be exempted?
These are just, they're just telling a story. I mean, the man has to say something. Question: how many Nigerians, like you said, are really earning up to 50 to 70,000? To a large extent, what the man is telling you is that those who work for government, that we can be sure of. Because they are the only ones they can get their data. Those who work with the government, either state government, local government, or the federal government. These are the people you can say this is their salary. And then you can now, on the basis of that, say, okay, we're exempting them. How about the common man who has a small shop on the street? These are Nigerians. Because each time we talk about...
People still go after them to get taxes.
Yeah, people go after them to get taxes.
Sometimes multiple taxes.
Multiple taxes. Some of them pay this, pay that, pay that. This group will come, the other group will come, another group, and they keep on paying. So what I'm saying is government trying to extricate this group, remove them away from those who should be accounted for? If we are talking about the 50 to 70,000 naira salary 10 or any or something, is government saying those ones who are in the private sector, who obviously cannot even say how much they earn? You can't say. You can't say. Because a man who is in his shop at Tuesday Market here, he sells from morning till night. I don't know how you will be able to know how much he earned or he was able to get for that day.
So data is a problem.
So, yeah. So data is simply not there. It's not there. Is it that government is going to say, well, okay, like you say, traders within the market or so don't pay? Or come down to the barest minimum and ensure that they pay the barest they can. By saying that people who earn 50 to 70,000 should be exempted, and you are not accounting for those who are not in government, even those who are working with companies. How many companies pay tax? Some of them find a way, one way or the other, to avoid paying these taxes and all that. Some of them even pay salaries of workers without documenting it anywhere. You understand? There are so many people in Nigeria today who are working in companies and establishments and are not given employment letters. There is no condition of service. At the end of the month, somebody will just pay you money. And you say you're working. So how is government going to manage all these loopholes here and there to be able to get a data that will make meaning in their implementations?
Because from all indications, it looks that we've spared the rich from taxes. Because, he was given an explanation also. The same way he said that those that earn 50,000, 70,000 will be exempted. He also argued that those that earn 100 million monthly will pay 25% of the income taxes. Okay. And now we're looking at how sometimes it looks at those at the top some people have not been paying taxes. That those that have also made some argument towards that you cannot continue to tax the poor to service the nation or to tax the poor and serve the rich. Rather, let's begin to tax the rich so as to equalize the middle class and also make life better for the poor, because the essence of government is for this equity distribution of our wealth.
Mike, let me tell you something. Without mincing words, over 80% of our political class don't pay 1 naira as tax.
That's what research has shown.
They don't pay. They enjoy patronages from government. And most of these patronages come direct to them without anybody accounting for it. Look, you need to appreciate the fact that today, the bulk of money that is moving around our political class don't go to the banks. The monies are in private bedrooms, they are in warehouses, and all of that.
That means the regulators are sleeping.
Yes. So you can't do anything about it. So if a politician, for instance, calls someone and say, take this 100 million naira, and he carries it, the Ghana must go and go home.
How would he pay the 25%?
How will he pay the 25%? And I'm telling you that the bulk of the money circulating in this country today among our political class pass through this channel. They are not in banks. Nobody issues checks anymore. Go to the bank to collect, no.
To still have a way of loopholes.
Yes. So they are just, in fact, we are just talking and engaging ourselves for the sake of doing that. There has to be fiscal discipline among our political class. And ensure that every 10 kobo that has to go to anybody must pass through the banking system. So that at least the bank will earn their own. And other relevant agencies that has to do with such monies can pick the tax from them. Let me tell you, have you ever visited any government house? If you visit any government house, as you're going, you probably have not been there, but I know that that's the story people are telling us. You visit a government house, as you're going, you collect 10 million naira. No, you collect 5 million naira.
We can't confirm. We can't confirm that collection.
That's what I'm saying. This is the story we are hearing. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But
it's not possible for everyone who walks into government to go back there.
I'm just saying, assuming you visit a government house or visit someone and he gives you 10 million naira, and you go home with it, you just put it in your bank, in your car, and go.
There's no way you pay tax.
There's no way he can pay tax. So I think government has to do more by ensuring that this idea of people packing cash in the bank, in their homes or in warehouses or in jig tags and the rest of them, it becomes a thing of the past. The moment we can get it that right, and the banking system now takes charge and control over movement of this cash here and there, then we can now implement this tax regime we're talking about. Anything short of that, we're just playing around.
So you still get to share the thought of some of these leaders that there's a need for consultation, or would you rather say to build structure in order to appreciate these reforms?
Strong institutions we need strong institutions even if we're able to pass these bills.
It's already second reading.
It's already the second reading.
It looks that since the president, since it's the president bill, it's having the whole attention of the Senate.
Yes.
And it's likely going to pass
to the committee finance committee
Absolutely.
for further legislative action. Fine and good. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, government must make effort to ensure that individuals can no longer keep cash in their homes beyond petty cash. In those days when we were growing up, I mean, you can only, you return to your house and you probably have just about 5,000 or something which you put in your drawer, you know, just for a normal buy this, buy that, buy that. Today, what I'm saying is that there are people in this country today who don't have bank accounts, but they are richer than some state governments. But they don't have bank accounts. In any case, the monies have been converted to dollars, so it won't even occupy space.
It really goes back to the lot of work that this is expected, in as much as this has good intentions, but how this can also be implemented, as I said, because that has always been the question: how would it be implemented?
Yeah, what I'm saying, like I earlier mentioned, is government must make sure that there will be transparency in the whole system, that the institution that will manage these bills, the outcome of the bills, must be strong enough not to look at anybody's face or your position in government. We are seeing what is happening in other climes, where a minister can lose his position because he flouted the law. Just by driving through one way, whatever we call one way here and all that, and you are caught, you lose your job, no matter your position in government. Are we having the political way to discipline our erring big men, so-called? Erring politicians, erring public officers, erring senior government officials, even civil servants? Are we having the capacity and the political way to discipline them and bring them to where they ought to be? Except we begin to do this, we can't get it anywhere. We are not getting anywhere with this. We can only come, establish pass the bill as usual. The president will sign it as usual, and then Nigerians will keep feasting on it as usual.
Right. I mean, just before we wrap up, looking at that bill, it looks that the bill also has an intention to stimulate, state production for every state to go back to their own state to see what they can also produce, what they can also drive in terms of economic development. Because when we look at all of these interactions we are having is because if government at all level and stratas are also producing, production is becoming at the top gear, it looks that our economy would have gotten better. Very quickly before we wrap up, do you feel this will have a sustaining capacity for the state to continue to build their economic reach?
I said it earlier that the idea of waiting for the month to end and for a governor or the state government to rush to Abuja to collect money is gradually coming to an end. In fact, that is the signal that these bills appear to be sending to every state government. You must go back home, look inward, and begin to think of ways of generating money internally, either through production, agri, or anything. But don't depend on Abuja alone. The moment you begin to generate some of these revenue, it will cushion whatever defect or whatever inadequacy we'll be having whenever Abuja decides to sneeze. Because as it is now, Abuja sneezes, states are quaking. Why must it be so? Fiscal federalism should be brought to bear in proper terms, where states will now be working hard to survive with or without the federal government.
I have a very salient point raised by Dr. Oke is, of course, the public analyst and retired Assistant Comptroller General of Nigeria Immigration Service. Thanks so much for joining us on the program tonight and giving us an in-depth understanding about that. It looks more interesting already coming from the National Assembly. The controversy over the tax reform bill sent by the president has gotten a second stage of approval by scaling through the second reading. The those that feels it looks that it has good intentions, and also the other part of Nigerians who are having concern about how all of these will be implemented so as not to also affect the livelihood of the people. Those that argued, some senators have argued that the timing is wrong, but government on the other hand said we need to take hand-in-hand these reforms to get to the better things. At the end of the day, it looks that the responsibility of government is still written very broadly to provide and also to protect lives and properties of the people. And government exists solely for the people. And there is a need to have a proper consultations, engagement within the people so as to get the people initiated into the ideas and reforms of the government. That's where we wrap it up tonight on the show Big Talk. A lot of development, political, economic dynamics. The president is still aware of that France still having some bilateral talks for the betterment of the Nigeria and the country. We keep on doing and supporting Nigeria because this country is ours and there is a need for us to do our very best from the top to the bottom in addressing the many challenges facing us as a nation. My name is Edika Michael. See you again tomorrow.